Folks, we're back. This is Steve the Mask Sanson with Jim No Mask Jonas. We're here with David Crawford, and David's gonna talk about the abuse of the Veterans Administration system. But before we talk to him, Jim, you got anything?
Yeah, actually, it's directly pertaining to our guest, and I wanted to kind of get into it just so before we'll get a bio from me and everything. First off, I just want to recognize your service and thank you for that. Thank you also for taking the time out on a Wednesday afternoon with all the craziness.
He's coming from Bullhead City, by the way.
So we greatly appreciate it. And one of the reasons why I really glad you came on is because, so Steve and I, we ask pretty much everybody that is running for anything, whether it's school board, it doesn't matter, judge, it doesn't matter what office people are running for. We always ask them about the Veterans Administration. And I can tell you pretty much verbatim this cycle, every person that we've asked that question and said, well, I think the VA is doing a really good job. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very little criticism of the VA. Now, I don't know what that's all about, but I'm glad you're coming on to discuss it a little more in depth because I find that hard to believe.
No, I've been on the phone for hours waiting for them to pick up.
Yeah. So, I mean, so basically there's no crazy rant or tirade. I just wanted to throw that out there that for whatever reason, everybody we've interviewed so far has said that the VA is they could do things better. They have said that, but for the most part, they think they're doing a great job. So I just want to thank you for coming on. Somebody who has firsthand knowledge of the situation and making such a long drive. So I just wanted to thank you for coming in. First and foremost. As far as rants, I don't have any crazy rants.
I thought you'll be talking about Trump with COVID and all that. And no,
I'm just gonna let that cycle just kind of work itself out because I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but there's just something odd that's going on. So we'll figure it out. But I don't want to take time away from the guests to add to the whole COVID thing or pro-Trump or anti-Trump. I just want to stay away from it this week. I'm just more concerned about our guests.
Oh, you dive into it every other week.
Yeah, right. Well, even I can take a break once in a while.
All right. David, how you doing, sir?
Fine.
Tell us about yourself, Mr. Crawford.
Well, I'm an Army vet.
Thank you for your
Vietnam.
service.
And you know, I remember when I enlisted, actually.
What year was that, by the way?
1968.
Oh, hell, I was a year old.
Now just to pause real quick. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
No, I enlisted. Actually, I had to have my mother sign.
Okay.
Yeah. And
same with me when I went in, by the way, 17.
Yeah.
Were you 17 back then, in 68?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that still sticks in my craw because, you know, back then, the recruiters, I mean, lying to me is one thing, but lying straight to my mother's face
was another.
Well,
what did they lie about, the recruiters back then?
Oh, they lied about, you know, when I enlisted and went through the Army and everything else the main thing that when I got out, you know, I'd have free medical for the rest of my life.
Is that what they told you?
Absolutely. And they assured my mother that it would be the Army's main importance to take care of their servicemen and to do everything they could do, even during wartime, to see that, you know, they had the complete support of their government and their country. Well, when I was in Vietnam, I was a helicopter door gunner in Vietnam. And towards the end there, after the government kept tying our hands in every way they could to prevent us from doing our jobs.
How so?
Huh?
How so? How did they prevent you from?
Well, I mean, they would come up, well,
Shoot at empty buildings?
no, they would come up and say, all right, if you were on a trail and you came around the bend and you ran into a group of Vietnamese carrying weapons,
Shoot them.
you couldn't shoot.
They got to shoot at you first?
We had to make sure, and basically, yeah, we had to let them shoot at us first. And then we could shoot them.
But it's called the Vietnam War, right?
Yeah.
I looked up the definition of war. And plus, they have weapons, not like they have pencils and paper.
Yeah. And in our free fire zones, areas that were known to be, areas that the only things that were in there were the bad guys.
Right.
And, when we were flying through those free fire zones, a lot of times the pilots would say, okay, check your guns.
Right.
And we could fire and stuff like that. And if we saw anybody, we had to shoot warning shots.
That's a waste of bullet.
Really? And not only that,
Just saying.
but if they didn't see us, they would know we were there by that time.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, towards the end, we mostly were fighting for each other and ourselves. We had no support. And as you know, we felt the government and the country turned their backs on us.
Yeah, there's a lot of Vietnam vets who wholeheartedly believe that took place.
And so when we came back, a lot of us, I had to leave my family's house because of the way I was.
How were you?
Angry, nervous all the time. I went after my brother one time. And
Don't worry, I did that too.
yeah, but the only thing was I had a brother that was handicapped. He was called the TMR, and it's called trainable mentally retarded.
Oh, wow.
And when I went after my other brother, he tried to stop me. And I elbowed him in the face because he was behind me and he grabbed me. And now he's dead. He was run down by a woman drinking. But also he ran out from between two cars. So, but he and my mother had to sit there and watch him die because they couldn't do, they couldn't do anything for him, so they sent him home to die. Okay. But anyway,
my condolences for your loss, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So when I came home, you know, my mother, she told me, you're not the same guy that left here. And
how long were you in country for?
13 months. Because
How many tours? How many tours did you do?
Just one.
Okay.
Actually, they had to run me out of there because I wasn't keeping track of my time. Actually, they weren't either. I came in off mission, and the first sergeant came out there with a Jeep, said, come on, you got to pack your clothes. You're going home. I looked at him, and he says, yeah. Go figure. We didn't know it was time.
I was going to say 13 months is a long tour.
Yeah, well, that's why it took 13 months.
Hey, you know, I understand, because when I was in the Gulf, I didn't realize it was my birthday until it was time to go to bed.
Well, you know, towards the end there, the last couple of months, I was flying the Nighthawk, and was night missions, search and destroy.
Did they have infrareds back then? Or no? Back in 68?
No.
You tracer rounds? Yeah, tracer rounds.
No, we had a big old 1 million candle power spotlight and a minigun and my 60s.
Yeah.
And we would go to areas that was suspected, and we'd light up that light and shine it around and try to draw fire, and you know, we had cover birds, and so, you know, that's what we did. And it was just a flub out. I'm not even sure what happened, why my order didn't even come down in time. They may have, and maybe somebody just stuck them in a drawer or something. I don't know. But yeah, so they drove me to my hooch, and I started packing and got dressed, and took me out to a helicopter, and they flew me to Saigon and got me the hell out of there. So
How long did you serve in the military?
I was 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still had time left. Actually, I tried to extend over there, but when I came, you know, I tried to extend the same time they were trying to kick me out. And so then when I came back, I went to go down to Washington to see if I can't, you know.
Well, why did you want to extend, Mr. Crawford?
Because it was funny. I shut myself down over there. I didn't want to know anybody's names. I didn't want to have.
You don't want to get attached.
Yeah. But that was fruitless. You still got attached.
Right.
Even though you didn't know their name. You know, you listened to them about their families and stuff. And
was your MOS originally a Huey gunner? Or was it a Huey or was it a Black Hawk?
Huey.
It was Huey. Was your MOS?
Yeah, they didn't have Black Hawks back then.
Was your MOS originally?
Yeah,
Huey?
actually, it started out as being aviation maintenance, and while I was in aviation maintenance, they had come up with a door gunner school, because before that, they were just pulling people out of the field, just getting anybody up there.
Right.
And it wasn't working because those guys didn't have the knowledge of knowing, you know, what the movement was doing and anything else. And so when they were shooting at people, the rounds were going someplace else. I went through the 3rd class of gunnery school. Out of 500 rounds, I got 428 rounds.
Hit your target?
Hits. Huh?
Hit your target? But you're doing a spray.
Yeah. But, you know, they had us fly over, and they had people, and then they had some Jeeps and trucks, and we had to shoot at those.
Right.
And
Yeah.
And
Was it the 50 caliber or the 60?
60.
Okay.
Even though while I was over there, they did come up with the recoilless 50, and they tried it on my helicopter, but
Wasn't
that
working.
thing was a piece of shit.
I like the 60 much better.
Yeah. But anyway, so, you know, when I took the Nighthawk over, they only had the mount for the 160. So I got with the armament man, and we devised the mount to where it could carry 260s. And that was much better, especially since the minigun was a piece of shit. It was a good new minigun is worth their weight in gold. But when you have so many helicopters that crash and so many miniguns that get busted up and stuff, and you end up taking one minigun and building it from 6 or 7 different miniguns that were broken up, something's got to give. And that minigun was one of them. And it fired maybe a 2-second, 3-second burst, and that was it.
Right. So what type of injuries did you sustain from being in the military?
Well, I really didn't sustain any physical injuries.
Were you exposed
the
to
only
agent?
time I sustained any physical injury was when I had them lower me down to a Cobra crew to help them out of their downed helicopter because they couldn't get their canopy open, get out of it, and the crew chief was supposed to go down, but see, the crew chief at the time was a fit-in. My original crew chief was on a 3-day pass, and so this guy, this mechanic from the hangar, somehow convinced his supervisor, basically the CO and them to let him get on my helicopter so he could get his air medal.
I want to fast forward this a little bit.
Yeah.
Were you exposed to Agent Orange or anything?
Oh yeah, that I was. Yeah.
So you did sustain injuries from
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Well, yeah, that I was going to get to. You know, even though, you know, I sustained being totally drenched in Agent Orange. See, when I was with the 173rd, when I first went over there, I was assigned to Casper Platoon, which is a bastard platoon, and they were assigned to the 173rd Airborne up at Bontong near the Anlo Valley. And they would bring out a big old vat of this Agent Orange. And we would go over to outposts and fly around their perimeter where the trees were and dose those trees down so we could get better firing areas. And, well, needless to say, you know, that vat had these long metal tubes coming out that had sprays on it, and when they were spraying it, Well, we're in our hellholes, and where do you think that spray's going?
Right on top of you.
Right on top of us.
Okay. Let's. I want to take us into the
Yeah.
to the VA part.
All right. So when I got back, and it was a long time before I even attempted to use the VA. And
How long were you back from the time you started going to the VA?
about 5 years, 6
5
years. And the first time I tried to use the VA, I was up in Casper, Wyoming. I was driving truck, and I was sick. So I tried to go to the VA up there, and
What were your symptoms? What were your symptoms? Just think
tired,
fatigue.
no energy. I couldn't stay awake.
How old were you at the time?
I was